Okay, let's do a couple of examples of taking square roots. So suppose w was equal to I, and I want to take the square root of w. First, I put I into polar coordinates. That's 1 times e to the I pi over 2. That's because I is there, and the angle is 90 degrees, pi over 2, and the radius is 1. So it's on the circle of radius 1, and it has the angle pi over 2. So the square root then is going to be the square root of 1, which is just 1, times e to the I pi over 4. Okay, well that's cosine of pi over 4 plus I times sine of pi over 4, which is 1 over root 2 plus I times 1 over root 2, because cosine pi over 4 equals sine of pi over 4 equals 1 over root 2. So let's just check that. If this number is supposed to be a square root of I, if I should multiply it together with itself, I should get I back. So let's do 1 over root 2 plus I over root 2 times itself. So 1 over root 2 times 1 over root 2 gives us 1/2. I over root 2 times I over root 2 gives us minus 1/2. Okay, that's good. I over root 2 times 1 over root 2 gives us 1/2. And 1 over root 2 times I over root 2 gives us 1/2. 0 plus I equals I. So I'm happy with that. There's another square root, of course. The other square root is going to be the minus of square root of w, so that would be minus e to the I pi over 4, but that would be just minus 1 over root 2 minus I over root 2, and if we multiply that by minus 1 over root 2 minus I over root 2, all of this arithmetic will wind up being the same because the minuses will just cancel and we'll get I again. So that actually works. I'm happy with that. Another example. Suppose we just take w equals minus 1. Well, we know what the square root of minus 1 is. That's got to be I. So let's just check to see whether the rules give us the same thing. Well, minus 1 sits here, so its angle is I pi. So this is e to the I pi. So therefore, the square root of w is going to be 1 times e to the I pi over 2, which is I, just as we had up here. And the negative of that gives us minus I, and so we're perfectly happy. So this idea of using polar coordinates to take square roots actually works. I'm happy with that.